Well, welcome to the Grand Prairie City Council meeting for Monday, August 8th, 2011. I'll say to anybody that's tuned in to watch us, we are having some technical difficulties with our video, so tonight's broadcast will be going old school, as they say, and we'll be going radio. You'll be able to hear us but won't see us, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. But I will ask everybody in attendance to rise and join council in singing "O Canada."
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much to Mr. David Bray for that audio rendition of "O Canada," and to the National Film Board of Canada for the video, which I believe everyone at home was able to see. I'd look for a motion for the adoption of the previous council meeting minutes. Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'll move the minutes of the City Council meeting held July 25th, 2011 be adopted.
Thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Could we have the adoption of the agenda? Councillor Rice.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented with the inclusion of 9.6.1, definition of fiscal sustainability, 9.6.2, multiplex borrowing, and 9.6.3, take part, take pride appointment.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on the motion with those additions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries and brings us to the delegation portion of our meeting. We did have two delegations that had let us know in advance that they'd like to come and address council. This is the opportunity for anybody in the community to come forward and address council on any community issue. And I had Mr. Carswell wanted to come forward and speak about traffic on Crystal Lake Drive. Mr. Carswell, come on up. You get to join our radio broadcast. Come on up to the presenters table here and we'll turn the microphone on for you. And if there's anybody else that wants to join, you're more than welcome. We've got about 5 or 10 minutes and some opportunity for questions at the end. No takers.
Evidently not.
Well, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Given, Council. My name is John Carswell, and I'm a long-term resident of Crystal Lake Estates. I'm attending tonight's council meeting to advise you of some serious concerns that I and many other area residents have regarding the heavy volume of traffic that we are now experiencing on Crystal Lake Drive. I have with me also an 80-signature, 7.5-page petition signed by people who all live on Crystal Lake Drive, and these people also had serious concerns as my wife and myself went around and asked them to sign this petition. What I would like to do now, if I could, is, there we go. Thank you. We have behind you councillors a map of Crystal Lake, which will, I hope, help in what I'm trying to explain here. Now, several years ago, 88th Street, which runs north and south, it's on the east side of Crystal Lake, was closed due to, I understand, complaints about dust. which is fine. But traffic is like electricity. It takes the path of least resistance. And soon motorists were finding out that instead of taking 88th Street now, they could go up Crystal Lake Drive and find a quick and easy access out of the city to either the northern industrial parks or else down the old Byzantium Highway to Edmonton. Now, Crystal Lake Drive is designated as a collector road, at least that's my understanding, but it has now become a major north-south artery. This brings about two things that I'm quite concerned about, and the people who signed our petition are quite concerned about. The first one involves a quality of life issue. I'm just going to list off a few things here that people expressed, a few concerns people expressed, and things that we have experienced ourselves. Quality of life issues are not life-changing, but when they occur on a day-to-day basis and there's problems with them, it can be quite frustrating. For instance, we find it very difficult to converse with neighbors unless we're basically face-to-face with them. Crystal Lake Drive has become extremely dirty and dusty over the last few years as traffic has increased. The general noise and hubbub makes it impossible to sit out on your front step. Friday AM, there's a parade out of the city, and Sunday night, there's a parade back into the city. This parade can include tractors, plows, trailers. I even saw a Safeway transport truck go by at the end of last month. The other factor is probably the most important one, and that's a safety factor. As I said earlier, Crystal Lake is no longer the collector road that it was designed to be. It has now become a major north-south artery. People on this road, or many of the people on this road, are commuter. They're not part of our Crystal Lake community. They're just passing through. I know that we can't prevent this, and it's their right to drive through. However, this does raise the issue of commuter traffic, which tends to be, I think, faster, and may I say even perhaps a little more reckless than the driving of people who have a stake in our subdivision. And I for one, can't believe that no one has been struck by a speeding vehicle so far. It's just by the grace of God, I think, that this has not happened. Now, there are some possible alternatives that I just want to quickly go through that perhaps would alleviate some of the problem. We could open up 88th Street from 116th Ave North to 132nd Ave. This would take a lot of pressure off at least the north end of Crystal Lake Drive, because people would now be able to access 88th Street from 116th Ave. At Copperwood, some of you might know where that is. Even better, perhaps, would be to open up 88th Street from 100th Ave North, as it used to be. Perhaps pave it so that the people who are living, who back on to 88th Street don't have the dust problem. It's not our intention to foist this back on them, that's for sure. The third alternative is and probably the least likely, is perhaps speeding up development of 84th Street, which I understand is in the works, but it's probably several years down the road, but which I understand would run parallel to 88th Street. Anyway, in closing, I urge City Council to help return Crystal Lake Drive to the residential street it should be. It's a matter of quality of life, and more importantly, it's a matter of safety. I thank you for allowing me to bring these concerns to you this evening. Any attention that you could give to this matter is indeed appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Mr. Carswell. So a couple of things. First,
Yes.
We may have some questions from council, so please don't run away. Secondly, you said that you did have a petition or a list of people who wanted to express their interest and concern for this area. And so if you'd like to present that to council, we can maybe accept that at the end just before you leave.
Sure.
And you may have seen me coxing with Ms. Ferguson. Petitions under the Municipal Government Act are actually 10% of the municipal population to require council to do something, but certainly we're happy to accept this as an expression of interest from those residents who sign.
And that's, just to be fair, Mayor Given, that's basically why, we knew it was an illegal document, so.
No problem. Thanks very much for that. So I do see a few people in the queue that had some questions for you. So Councillor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Well, luckily for you, there's at least one guy on council that lives in Crystal Lake, and that's me. I hear you 100%. It is very noisy. People come off of 92nd Street, and it's like the Grand Prairie 500 coming into Crystal Lake Drive there, and they come around the corner from the Chiabella Spa there and Winks, and it's it's like a racetrack. Thursday nights, it seems like everybody and their choppers are out, and they leave A&W, and I think every chopper in town drives down Crystal Lake Drive. And I believe we need more crosswalks on that street. Like my street, for example, there's no way out of it unless you actually go through the Winks parking lot. And there used to be some natural speed bumps on there, but thanks to Frank and his department, they fixed those. However, we could definitely use a few more along the way to slow down traffic. I have wasn't there a plan for 116th to go out to the feed mill road through Copperwood eventually, or do we have to, that's a long ways out?
So maybe just a question for administration. Ms. Donnelly, do you want to speak to maybe the future plans for that area for Councillor Gustafson?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, there are plans to extend 116th Avenue along the bottom out to the east and to extend 84th Street from 132nd Ave down to 100th. And that is actually identified and discussed in our transportation master plan, which I'm anticipating bringing to you within the month.
Okay.
So
Thanks very much, Ms. Donnelly.
in saying that, we're probably at least 3 years out before anything like that's going to happen, or more even.
Ms. Donnelly?
I'll bring it forward in budget deliberations, and you'll have an opportunity to make some of those decisions, and that's definitely something that is worth discussing.
Okay. So it's those items will be in our transportation master plan, and it'll be up to council to consider where they would fit in our next 3-year budget cycle. Okay. Councillor Gustafson?
Yeah, just thank you for coming and bringing this forward. It's a great concern in that end of the woods. So.
Okay. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. It's Joe, right? John? Sorry, John. Question I have, because this is one of them, one's getting fixed over by Costco now, going that way, and we got a few of them down by Northgate, 92nd. And let's talk about 84th. The county's had it paved 4 or 5 years now on 84th, and we're waiting to maybe extend past it and all that. I think we should be concerned about some of these few areas, and I'd like to know what's going on, because the dust control just prolonged the problem for further down the road to pave it, delay paying the money. So there's no more dust now, but eventually and I don't just think that's, is that 88th Street? Yes. Okay, I was thinking it was not 88, I thought it was 90. But anyways, there's also a little cell under that should be connected as well. And it's creating problems in Ivy Lake and people from Ivy Lake as well. So I think if you're talking just that, it should be extended south to hook up to the development there as well. And how do we take to do this area or the Northgate Road or 92nd get developed? And what developers own on the other side of the road that help maybe pay part of this to get the process going further. So I think it's a very good step in the right direction. But how's the city going to, what's it looked at to doing this? Keeping the dust, don't drive on the road?
We'll do this as an opportunity for questions for the delegation at this point, for the public member that's here. We've already heard from administration that this is going to be on our transportation master plan. The concern is noted and is there. And council, when we get to our budget this fall, we'll have the opportunity to pave as many roads as we want to pave. Yeah, exactly. Which ones we choose to do or which ones we choose to, priorities up to council completely. Councillor Crokin?
Thanks, Mayor Given. It was a question for administration.
Okay, so.
So I'll wait.
Sure, okay. Ms. Carswell, I don't know that I see any other further questions for you. We do appreciate you being here tonight, and if you wanted to present us with the list of signatures, we'd be happy to accept it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you like me to do that at the end
Sure,
of the meeting?
please do. We can-
Or right now?
Right now, that'd be fine. Okay. Actually, you could present it to Audrey on the corner there on your way back.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Okay, we did have another delegation that said that they wanted to come and address council, and so it's my pleasure to welcome our MLA for Grand Prairie Wapiti, Mr. Wayne Drysdale. Wayne, you were going to come and give us an update, a provincial update, and we appreciate seeing you here. This is getting to be a kind of a regular thing.
Bad habit or?
A fantastic habit. Fantastic habit.
It's got a brown bag, and I don't think it's lunch. Is it MSI?
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Gibbon. Good evening, everyone, and indeed, it's a pleasure for me to come here. I always appreciate this opportunity, and it's more to share ideas. I bring forward my thoughts, but I'd like to hear your ideas as well. And I appreciate, everybody, I think, on council. I see them from time to time at different functions and conventions, and I don't think anybody's shy at sharing their concerns with me, and I appreciate that very much. And I think that's the way it should be, and I know the mayor, we have coffee from time to time, and I appreciate that openness to share. So this is kind of the official part, but the real discussions kind of happen at the coffee table maybe, but we need to do this part as well. And I'll try and be brief because I know you guys are busy, but just a few points. I wanted to discuss the budget from 2010-11, the numbers come in a while ago, the final numbers, and I'm sure you're all aware of them, but it looked a lot better than anticipated. We were 1.3 billion better off than budgeted, and we left our sustainability fund with $11 billion in it, and so the economy is turning around, things are getting better, and I've seen the first quarter results already for 11-12, and they're even looking better yet. But after the last few days with our neighbors down south, there's still lots of year left, so I'm not going to predict anything, but things kept going the way we were. It puts us in a better financial shape, and of course when we're in better financial shape, that allows us to share some of that with municipalities and MSI. So I think it's things are looking better in the future. As you stated once earlier tonight, we've just come through the worst economic recession in quite a few years, and so to come out of it in as good a shape we are, I think it's good, and the future looks a lot better. Hopefully they resolve their issues down south. So just I'll try and be brief here, but I know one of your issues, and I've seen your letters on the motor vehicle search fees, and the way that come down this year could have been discussed better, but I think our ministers met with AUMA, and that was deferred till September, and hopefully giving you time to adjust. I believe, like as you said in your letter there, that should be passed on to the offenders and not to the general taxpayer, and I think it's given you enough time to pass that $15 on to your fines, and hopefully you recoup your costs as well, and I think it could have been discussed better, but when you do that before budget is passed, there's always reasons not to, so the budget has to get passed, and then we have the discussions, and I think that we'll be able to work it out so it doesn't affect your budget too much in the end by delaying it 6 months. So saying that, I see MSI, between all the other grants and MSI, the city increased from, my numbers are 19,250,000 to 23 million. So, you got an increase of 4 million over this year from last year, which, was going in the right direction. But as I said, with better economic times, I hope to see MSI funding increased even more and maybe help you out with your aquatic center or something in the end. I think things are looking better, and there is an end date to MSI, but I think probably MSI 2 can even be a better deal, and I think it's a good idea to start discussions now rather than wait till it's ending. And, you know, I think there's room for improvement there, and as the economic times get better, it'll be better for you as well. I guess just to let you know too, I'm off to Madison, Wisconsin on leave Wednesday, get there Thursday or something for a state legislature's conference, and I was happy to be picked the one representative from Alberta to represent Alberta in the States. There's 11 different states and 36 of us, and you know, the Midwest state is the essential marketplace for Alberta, and there's lots in common, and I think it's, you know, they're a strong trading partner, and I think it'll be good to be at the table there and make sure they get the right story on Alberta. And plus, it's there's some leadership seminars and policy discussions, and I think it'll be very good to build some relationships with our neighbors down there. So excited about that. Of course, I think everyone here knows we're in the middle of a leadership race in our provincial government, and that kind of stalled things a bit this summer, and that'll be over in September, and maybe we can get on with better things for Alberta. Very exciting tonight to hear about the progress of the multiplex, and probably going to be done on time in December, and I think that's going to be a great addition to the city of Edmonton, and I think council should be Edmonton. What? I must be thinking of the hockey arena or something. Great for Grand Prairie, and I think very exciting for this community. And you know, this council has to be commended for sticking to it. And when it was started, the economic times were a little bit different than the times you had to go through to get here. But good on you for doing that, and I'm excited to see that facility open. Be good for our region. So
We'll be happy to have you on the Flow Rider for the opening.
I don't know. You got a life jacket? No. It'll be a great celebration for sure. So I think with that, I'll just open it up to Q&A, and I'm always here to listen as much as talk. So appreciate it very much.
Sure. Thanks very much, Emily Drysdale. Certainly we have, I'm sure there'll be some questions from Council. Councillor Rice?
Wayne, you mentioned on the licensing issue and the funding that, you know, and we appreciate Minister Goodrow's decision to delay implementation. But what I'm having difficulty with is Minister Ouellette's refusal to allow us to add it to the ticket price. That's what's causing us a lot of grief, and perhaps you could explain that rationale, because it certainly escapes me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to put words in my colleague's mouth, but I don't think it was a refusal. He said that I don't think there's anything stopping you from adding it to your
I think actually, just in fairness to everybody, because we did get an update just last week at the Protective Services Committee, and my understanding is there's a portion of the tickets that we can adjust our bylaw, our parking bylaw. So essentially, city parking tickets we can adjust to capture that fee, but other provincial tickets like photo radar, red light camera tickets, we actually don't have the authority to place that $15 fee. So yes, we can mitigate the cost on a portion of our tickets. I think we heard from administration that they're planning on including $175,000 in each year the next 3 years for that additional cost that we'll have to pay for the impact. So we can mitigate about 150,000, but there's still an additional 175,000 that we can't mitigate on those provincial tickets. So there's city tickets, which we can handle, provincial tickets, which we can't. I think if anybody, I think I summarized that correctly. I'm seeing administration nod. So there is actually a portion that we don't have that ability to mitigate, which is the concern for municipalities.
As a fair warning, I guess, would we say to Mr. Drysdale that we don't intend to let this drop?
No.
So any influence you have over Minister Ouellette would be appreciated.
I'll be chatting with that as well, because I agree with you 100%. I think it should be passed on to the offenders and not the taxpayer. And I was surprised with his comments, but I got to be careful what I say.
Well, we certainly would appreciate any support that you could bring to bear in favor of the cause. I see Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Wayne, again, thanks for coming this evening. I do want to just follow up maybe on this item one more time to follow up to Helen's comments. I'm looking at the AUMA, the letter that Darren Aldous received from Minister Ouellette, and just a couple of things that I'm hoping that you might talk to him about. One is that talks about giving us time to adjust the fee, but ensure the search fees are included in the 2012 budget. We'd prefer not to do that, but this impact is starting in the 2011 budget, so maybe the September isn't the right date either. So that's one. The other paragraph I think is relevant to this discussion. It reads, although the government of Alberta continues to look at options regarding provincial fines, a decision to amend current regulations has not been made. The process and timing to amend regulations would be determined as a result of a political decision to adjust penalty amounts for traffic offences. So I would just encourage you, that to me at least leaves some opening for further discussion in government about this. And so I would ask you to support looking at provincial fines to so then those who are causing the search fees are actually paying for it, not just the general taxpayer. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Everin.
You know, right on, Councillor Ratt. I agree with you 100%. But one thing too, just to point out, and not doesn't fix it all, but I was surprised to hear that on average, searches on those tickets, on average, they search 3 times per violation. And I heard it's gone down to 2 and in some places 1. So it's a little bit funny when it starts costing them money, they don't search as often. So even to reduce it from 2, from 3 to 2 and maybe even 1 is helpful. And so we can all work together maybe to save some taxpayers' dollars, whether it's, yeah. So I was surprised that they were searching 3 times for the same violation, but I agree, and I'll be talking to my colleague about that, and I don't see why it shouldn't be able to be passed on to the violators.
Thanks very much. I see a few other folks in the queue. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Wayne, I'm glad to see you come for council. I think it's been a few months now. It's the first time I've seen this. I hope to see you a few times more throughout the tender for next municipal election. I got a couple questions that's unusual for me. The new hospital, a lot of residents are very happy, but they're also saying, finally, we're getting it. And we're looking forward to the day part of the thing we're wondering is, sorry about that. Part of it is, and everybody knows, I kind of like pedways a little bit for safety of residents. And this is supposed to be a health education center. And that road might turn into, and you try to walk across there now, and it's nick and tuck, and you add 2 more lanes to it. And I think by really connecting it to the college, you've got a health and education center. So that's one. Just a few more. Public high school, I want to congratulate you on. It was desperately needed, and I think for public high school, it's been over 50 years for the city having one. If I'm wrong, you're correct. It's not Catholic, but public. So overly needed, and we're glad to get it. MSI has been brought up by yourself, about $4 million more this year, and just a comment I have, I think it was $11.3 billion over 10 years, and I think about 1/3 of that's been allocated the last 5 years, and so maybe you're going to divvy up near the end of it, because last year the city was expecting $16 million, we got $10 million, so that hurt us for budgeting, and I think that's correct, and if I'm wrong, someone can correct me. But if I'm wrong about my numbers, let me know, and because I think 1/3's been given out, so I'm glad to hear that maybe it's starting to add up near the tail end. And one other one is the fair share in BC. So when you talk about MSI 2, I'm hoping you're really looking at the fair share of Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, because Fort St. John are in peace country. They're getting oil and gas like us. And they got just over 20,000, they get 12 million infrastructure. We got 55,000, and we get 12 million infrastructure for the city. So there's some big laps here. So just, that's all my questions.
No.
Wayne, did you have any response for any of those?
Well, I mean, I guess we could go on, but, I agree, and I know there's been some commitment with the connector for the college, whether it's underground or overpass, that there has been, the commitment has been made for a connector of some type, so no, they haven't decided exactly what it is yet, but I think all along that's been committed.
The only reason I brought up, sorry, I heard rumors that it wasn't going to go through, so maybe
Well, I've heard stories it was and it wasn't,
Okay.
but I know originally it was committed, so I haven't been told different yet, but I have heard the rumors as well, and And, you know, it may not be out of the 520 million for the healthcare facility, but there is, it was committed to, I know, originally, so I'll work to make sure that happens. And yeah, you're right, the public high school is good news for Grand Prairie, and it's been worked on. And I'd like to thank the city council, and I know Mayor Gibbon, as you come out to the legislature, and that's something new that's been happening with you and the chamber and other partners. And when you come to the legislature and talk to the ministers about the need for the high school, that goes a long way as well. I mean, it's not just me asking for it when you hear it coming from everybody else. So, you know, it's a sign of what cooperation does, and thank you very much for that. And it's good news for Grand Prairie for sure. And yeah, MSI, I mean, I think it's going to get better. I mean, total was 23 million. When you talk about fair share, total to Grand Prairie this year is 23 million. You know, there's different grants, transportation and the fuel tax grant and stuff, but total is 23 million. You know, it's different in BC than Alberta, but I think with MSI and the other grants, if you look at all the other costs, you know, when you compare province to province, I think Alberta does a pretty good job. I'm not saying there isn't room for improvements. There is, and I think MSI too will show some of that. And of course, as economic times gets better, there's always more money for everybody. So I've taken your comments. Thanks very much.
I do see a few people in the queue, and so if we can just try to maybe, if there's new territory or additional comment or ground that we haven't covered. Councillor Wong?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I'll try to just keep my comments brief. My question, or it's not even a question, I just have a comment. I just feel that the public deserves to know that our council is talking with provincial representatives like yourself on the funding inequities between certain municipalities throughout the province. There's plenty of examples of that. Our city is one of them. That, you know, we're a regional center, yet you look at our financial situation and those of our immediate neighbors in the counties and the MDs that have a lot more revenue sources than we do. Some of them have in their reserves, you know, 1 or 2 years worth of annual operating expenses, where, you know, our city just struggles year after year to increase taxes just to maintain an even keel. So, you know, as you go back to your colleagues at the legislature, just please voice our message that we are looking for ways to help us become sustainable and just a fair way for us to get our share of provincial dollars so that, you know, we can service all Albertans fairly.
Yeah, and I've heard that, and I've had discussions with the mayor about the same issues. And it's not just Grand Prairie, it's a, you know, pretty big discussion provincially. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen, but you know, I hear your comments, and I think there's lots of room for discussion over the next few years on that stuff. So thanks for your comments.
Councillor Crowe?
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. Yeah, Wayne, it was exciting to see you MC the opening of the Shields Education and Health Center. Premier Stelmach is going to be leaving one of these months, and all I was going to say is if your candidate or whatever candidate is a new leader of the Conservatives and the Premier, to make sure you just keep their feet to the fire on that, because it was Premier Stelmach's, I mean, he did an awful lot of work to get it for us, but we have to keep on that trail. So anything you can do to kind of keep our mayor and maybe and council abreast of how things are going, because I heard on the news that some of our local players weren't involved in the talks that were going on down there because it was all technical and whatever, but so we're out of that loop, but you could always keep us in the loop.
Well, I don't think, Councillor Crokin, that there's no way it can stop now. The money's been put in the budget and the contract's been signed with the builder, so it's pretty hard to get out of a contract. You know, the design contract has been signed, the builder contract has been signed, and the money's in the budget. And you know, with the sod turning, I don't think there's no stopping it now, even if you wanted to. But yeah, for sure, we keep the pressure on and I know there is lots of talks with the partners and the healthcare providers in the city and the college, and working out exactly all the details that are gonna go on in there, and it's coming along fairly well. I mean, not everybody always agrees on everything, but there's still a good use for the old facility, and it's just what goes in the new one and what stays in the old one, and I'm not gonna profess that I know all the answers either, but I know there's good discussions going on, and it's good to see.
Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Given, and thank you, Wayne, for coming to see us tonight and all your hard work. It's really appreciated in our city and our region. And I have, I guess, one question in regards to two separate items. We do a lot of development and try to encourage more development, better, efficient ways to do things, and we seem to run into a little bit of a speed bump all the time when it comes to communication and cooperating with some of the utility companies. And I could say some examples, but there's a couple places in town where we've twinned the roads, and we seem to have a hard time getting it across the tracks, so to speak. So I guess, is there any way that you or us, any different ways that we could communicate with the railway and the utility companies to make things run smoother? There's 116th, for example, we twinned the road and we did all the work, and then ATCO came in after and wrecked up all the ditches and everything, or the boulevard on the side of the road, and it's still not finished to this date, and that was well over a year ago. So is there any way you could help us foster the cooperation between our stakeholders?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the railroads, that seems to be a bigger issue. Even the feds have trouble fighting with, but I'm not going to say there isn't a problem there, and we need to work on those. As far as utilities, I'm surprised, like that would be Aquaterra, I would think.
ATCO.
Or ATCO, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say there's an easy solution to it, but you're right, there needs to be better cooperation and communication with lots of different levels of government and service providers. I can see where we can get better at it, and I have some ideas, but this probably isn't the place to discuss it. We'll go for coffee someday.
Thanks, Wayne.
Well, I don't see anybody else in the queue. Wayne, I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule, which is at least as busy as ours. First off, to be here tonight and at the number of community events that we see you at throughout the course of the year. Certainly not just at a formal council meeting where we see you, it's at a lot of informal community gatherings, and you're representing obviously your constituency, your constituents, and the province very well, so we appreciate that. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say thanks for all your support on a number of the projects that we did mention. The public high school, we know that you've been twisting arms for a while for that, that you have been keeping people's feet to the fire on the health and education center, and I've seen many a minister that has sort of started to, they have a reaction when we mention the dinosaur museum, and they say, yeah, I've heard about it from Wayne already. So we really do appreciate the fact that that you're down there as a member of our community, supporting the concerns that we have, and working with your colleagues to the best of your ability. And so we certainly appreciate that and appreciate your time here tonight. Thanks so much for doing it.
Well, thank you, and it works both ways. My door's always open to any of you, and you know that, I think, and so I look forward to working with you over the next year. And I try to make this a yearly August visit to the city council meeting, but we do see each other lots in between, so thanks very much.
Great. Thanks very much, Wayne. Appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Okay. So that clears us of our delegation business, unless there was anybody else that wanted to come forward and address council. If there's any other member of the public that wanted to come forward and address council on any other community issue. I'm looking out into the crowd, and I don't see anybody jumping up with their hand up. So we'll move on from the delegation portion and into public hearings, of which we have none. Unfinished business, of which we have none. Reports, of which we have none. And that takes us into committee business. And we'll start off with the Public Works Committee from July 26th. Councillor Wong, I believe you're chairing that one.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. I move that council receive the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting held July 26, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Wong?
I move that council deny the request to extend the period for subdivision approval and endorsement for the subdivision applications Z08-0014 and Z08-0015 for the property northeast of 31-71-5 west of the 6th Meridian for an additional year. And in speaking to that motion, the original subdivision application was made in 2008. The Subdivision Development Authority had granted a one-year extension in 2009. Council then approved an additional extension in 2010 due to the economic slowdown, and it's now 2011. The application is coming up for expiration, and the applicant is asking for an additional extension. It is typical policy for us to deny any additional extensions after a 3-year period. Previous council did also approve new standards for subdivision development in the municipal development plan that was passed in the previous term. And this is an opportunity for us to hold this development up to those standards. And those would be the same standards as anyone who would be doing development from this time forward. Relatively speaking, there has been very little done in this area other than just subdivision of the land.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Wong, I think you had one other item of business?
Yes, I move that council allocate $700,000 from the unallocated municipal sustainability grant to the 100th Avenue Bridge Rehabilitation Capital Project. Earlier this year, council approved the engineering work, geez, I can't think of the word right now, but the evaluation of the bridge to see what needed to be done for rehabilitation. Administration came back with 3 options for us. The first option was to replace the deck bridge and do some other repairs, which would require this additional $700,000. Another option was just to do the minimum amount of work, which would still require an additional $200,000. That would give the bridge approximately an additional 15 years worth of lifespan. The third option was to invest another $1.4 million, replace the bridge deck and all the substructure. This was kind of a balance between the two, where we would still replace the deck bridge and do the necessary work possible that's required, but still get a good 50 years out of this bridge. This bridge was built in 1959, so it's had about 52 years of service already, and this investment will give it an additional 50 years.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Councillor Wong, so with this 700,000 addition, it'll add another 50 years to the life cycle of this bridge, for sure.
Councillor Wong?
That's definitely the information that we were given. You know, this bridge, it's already been around for 50 years, so there's no reason to believe that they would need to, or that it wouldn't withstand another 50 years. Yeah.
And I think just to be clear too, this is 700,000 additional to what was previously budgeted, and I think it takes the total budget up to
1.67 million
Yeah.
total budget.
So the total budget is actually far more than the 700,000. Just to be clear. Okay. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Wong, was there anything else you wanted to highlight from that set of minutes?
I'd like to highlight that the Public Works Committee did review the cross-section standards for road construction, and I think we were pretty clear on everything except for the separate sidewalks, in which we asked administration to come back with more information on the financial cost of replacing the sidewalk in the future versus the savings in snow removal that we would gain due to the additional boulevard and not having to haul that snow away.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Questions for Councillor Wong? I see Councillor Rice, I see you in the queue. Were you just getting for Councillor Wong?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Rice?
The cross-sections in the road standards, obviously, if we increase our road standards, we will have to increase our budget. Is that not correct? It would surely. the higher quality of road you build, the more money it's gonna cost.
These are costs that would be passed down to the developer.
So in the majority of cases, these are the local roads and the collector roads which are built by developers. In the case of arterial roads, that would generally be funded by the city or in transportation system
Yeah.
levies. So, but it was a fairly wide-ranging report that covered everything from the way that we compact the sub-materials to separate sidewalks on both sides. But the majority of the cost would be borne by the developers.
Okay, so, but there still would be some when we're doing arterials. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Radbourne?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Yeah, I just wanted to echo, I guess, what Dan was saying. I really found I attended this meeting and found that the information very useful. I found actually the builders and UDI, their information very informative and actually quite compelling. And I think that the request for the further information was a prudent one to take. So I would encourage all of us to come to the next committee meeting and become engaged in this, because it's an important decision that we have to make in the very near future, actually. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radbourne. If there's nothing further for Councillor Wong, then we'll move on to the General Government Services Committee meeting. Councillor Rice?
I move that council receive the minutes of the General Government Services Committee meeting held July 27th, 2011.
Did anyone pick up on any errors or omissions from that set of minutes? Seeing nothing, then we'll call for the vote. Thank you.
I move that, sorry.
Did that result flash up? So I'll maybe just take that vote again. Sorry, I may have hit
Sorry.
something. And one more. Thank you.
No.
And that motion carries. Thanks
Okay.
very much, Councillor Rice. Sorry about that.
I move that council remove Joyce Miron and appoint Don Sauve to the Board of Trustees of the Firefighters Supplementary Pension Plan.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Rice?
I move that council approve the draft 2010 FCSS statements for the year ended December 31st, 2010 as presented. And in speaking to it, there is a fairly substantial difference between the budget and actual expenditures in the special projects area, but I remind council that those were projects that we added at this table one at a time over the course of the year.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you.
Nothing else, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any questions for Councillor Rice on that set of GGS minutes, that meeting? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the 100th Anniversary Committee. And Councillor Rice, I think that was you as well.
I move that council receive the minutes of the 100th Anniversary Committee meeting held July 27th, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion on that set of minutes, errors or omissions? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you.
Just in very quickly speaking to it, the committee continues to move ahead. Councillor Gustafson and his committee is doing homecoming, and they confirm that it will be held on the August long weekend, and it will be a family type affair as opposed to a black tie event. We have made an offer to someone to write the Cultural Capitals grant application, just waiting to hear back. Councillor O'Toole is working on events, and it's his job to fill 100 days of activity. People get quite excited about some of the ideas that he has. And there's a homecoming group that's been set up on Facebook, and currently membership sits at 122 people, and we encourage everyone to sign on to that, as well as we're developing a database for people interested in attending homecoming. So they can register at the email address gphomecoming2014 cityofgp.com.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any questions, comments for Councillor Rice? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the Protective Services Committee meeting, and Councillor Radburn, I believe that was you. Gotcha.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move council receive the minutes of the Protective Services Committee meeting held August 2nd, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you. I would move council award tender T21-323-11, Jordair breathing air compressor and auxiliary devices in the amount of $125,191.83, inclusive of GST, to Acklands Granger as the lowest tender meeting specifications. This, there were 2 bids. This is a low tender. It met all requirements. It is within the budget, the construction project budget, and is included in the construction budget. So we do have a set of equipment that's old. It will be kept as a backup, but this will be the primary device to get our air into, to help our firefighters as they're into fire situations.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion, questions, or comments for Councillor Radburn? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Councillor Radburn, would this be located in the new 3rd fire hall? And the old system, isn't it in the other fire hall on Resources Road going south?
I think so, yeah, I think so. It'll be in the new one, the backup will be in the other hall, yes. Right on.
Councillor Rice?
No, if we're done with that, I'm moving on to the next one,
Okay.
sorry.
No, sorry. So we just have the motion on the breathing air compressor. And was there any further discussion or debate? Questions or comments for Councillor Radburn? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Rice? Do you have something further?
Yeah,
for the
I
set of
do,
minutes?
as it relates to the electronic motor vehicle search fee and the committee's direction. I guess I am clearly surprised. You have a whole parking committee that is the City of Grand Prairie Parking Committee, and it has representatives on it from the Downtown Association and from the Chamber, and yet nowhere at that committee meeting, when they suggested making this change, was there any mention of requesting that the parking committee give input on this? I guess if you're not going to pay any attention to the committee, we may as well kill it off.
Okay. So a comment, Councillor Radburn?
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Got me, thank you. So I'll go and add other items in the agenda and speak to them. And the only one was the one that Alderman Rice, or Councillor Rice, has identified. I guess what you've heard tonight basically is the context for what we discussed at committee. I will say that we also received, or Mayor Given shared with us, the essence of a letter that mid-sized mayors are sending to the government with respect to this issue. We, again, at committee also chose not to sign the service agreement yet, pending, I guess, the response to that letter and discussions tonight with Emily Drysdale. However, we did pass a motion that got staff starting to look at exploring alternatives with respect to how we might adjust revenues to help, I guess, shelter some of this cost to the general taxpayer. And so that will be coming to committee. There will be ample opportunity for delegations and or other councillors to come and talk about this with the committee. So I think that process is in place. I still think there's I do concur with Councillor Rice, actually, when she shared this with me last Friday. I think it's definitely an oversight, and I do think that we either need to direct administration to consult with the committee prior to coming to committee or after. There still is an opportunity once something comes to committee that we're quite interested in. We have that opportunity to consult with the committee at that time. So It gives you a bit of the context, but I do think there certainly still is opportunity for consultation with that committee as the process continues.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Edmund. Councillor Rice, I see you in the queue.
I guess from the motion, I don't see any exploration of alternatives. I see an amendment to one specific bylaw, so,
Well, at this time, as you heard earlier, really the only way we can adjust is with the parking fines. So we're looking at options with respect to parking fines.
And I think Councillor Rice, in fairness, one thing that didn't come across in the way that this went after it left the committee room was that council, the discussion at the table, and even from administration, was that there'd actually be no change to the early payment option of tickets. So currently, the City of Grand Prairie offers people the ability to pay if you pay your ticket within 5 days, it costs you $10, I think it is. The committee seemed to be directing and heard from administration that we don't incur the charge if somebody pays their ticket
Correct.
within that time period because we don't do the search.
okay.
And so there was no discussion of changing that charge. The discussion was about changing it if you don't pay the ticket within the time period, and if the city incurred the additional $15 charge, then those tickets would go up. So in terms of the actual impact to the ticket payer, if you pay it within the 5 days, it would still remain the same $10 as was previous to this concern being foisted on us by the provincial government.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Radmer, if you had something further?
No, that's fine. I think we were looking at playing with the discount portion of it to adjust. But I do know the administration did share that our parking fines are among, if not the lowest in the province. So I'm not sure what administration will bring back, but we'll deal with it at that time, and there'll be opportunity for discussion at that time.
Okay, if there was nothing further from that set of Protective Services Committee minutes, then we'll move on to Community Development Committee and Councillor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'll move that council receive the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting held August 2nd, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. Anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing nobody ringing in, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I will move that council approve a 5-year lease with a 5-year option to renew with Amari Spa for space at the multiplex.
Thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. One more, thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Gustafson, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight in that set of minutes?
Yes, just the Amari Spa lease. I'm sure there's going to be lots of mothers dropping off their children at the pool or at the rink or at the gymnastics center and go get their spa stuff done. So
Is that a technical term?
So I'm pretty excited about that, and there'll probably be the odd dad that drops in there too. And the other thing was just the correspondence from the Tourism, Parks and Recreation to host the invitation to host the 2014 Alberta Summer Games in our city, as that is our 100th anniversary. We denied that invitation at this time, and look forward to more invitations of that nature. And that's all I believe. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Councillor Gustafson?
Actually, I'm sorry, there is one more thing I'd like to commend and thank Mr. Gary Roth for his community service update that you all got last week. It was very thorough, and the inventory of the things we have going on in community development really opens your eyes of what's really going on, which is quite a lot. So thank you, Gary. Good job.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. So we'll move on then to items of correspondence, of which we had none. Delegation business, we had 2 delegations this evening. The first was the residents. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you. We did have additions to the agenda tonight. So item 9.6.1, the fiscal sustainability definition. Could I have a council member that would be willing to move that motion from our council committee of the whole meeting? Somebody ringing in to move that motion? You all have your agendas in front of you. I can see council members flicking through to find their electronic versions. Councillor Rice?
You want to do the fiscal?
The definition of fiscal
Okay,
sustainability.
I move that we adopt the definition of fiscal sustainability. Oh, I have to say what it is. The ability to manage expected fiscal requirements and withstand future financial shocks to ensure that the city of Grand Prairie can continue to deliver quality programs and services into the future.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I would just say that this is really the first step in council working with administration to develop a fiscal sustainability model. Of course, when you talk about these kind of terms, everyone says, so what do you actually mean? What do you think sustainability means? And this is essentially council giving that direction to administration. At its essence, it says that for the city of Grand Prairie to be sustainable, we need to be able to have the revenues and expenditures matched up, and obviously be responsible with how we manage our funds and transparent. But I think that sustainability is the key point in there. So, any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. So then we had item 9.6.2, Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move the council increase borrowing by $760,000 and authorize the transfer of $240,000 from reserves to offset construction overages for the multiplex project.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. And then we had finally item 9.6.3, appointment to the Take Part, Take Pride Committee. Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'll move that we add Mr. Scott Field to the Take Part, Take Pride Committee for 1 year, 3-year term.
I think the motion was a term starting September 1st, 2011 and ending December 31st, 2012.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I will make that motion.
Thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. Yeah, it's a collective memory. It's a collective memory. Any discussion or debate on the motion of adding this new public member to the Take Part, Take Pride Committee? Councillor Wong?
I think Mr. Scott Field will be a great addition to that committee. Not only is he a young professional, he'll be one of the only, I think he will be the only male on that committee. So he'll be a welcome addition. He'll offer a perspective that hasn't been seen yet.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Then I think that takes us through all of our business into correspondence, as I said, of which we had none, and into delegation business. We had first the delegation from the residents in the Crystal Lake area. Did any member of council have a motion to either receive that for information or a direction to administration or direction to committee? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'd like to direct that to administration for overview of maybe price and maybe in the future how it could be, the road could be developed.
So I think we heard from administration that that they are already working on the plans for the future road network in that area, and that we would see generally price at budget. The only other things that could be interim measures or traffic calming. Or other measures like enforcement, and so maybe that would be something to refer to administration for report back to the appropriate committee. So I think that I think we are getting the information that you spoke about. I think those other options are sort of the interim measures, what we can do now to try and deal with the issues. So
Where I was getting at was about priority. There's 3 or 4 of them in the city after the one that's being done at Costco that are going to be priority, and I think this is one of them.
okay, and that's the debate that we'll have at budget time this fall. Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Can this get referred to the appropriate committee so we can definitely do the traffic calming measures? and possibly some speed bumps and definitely some more crosswalks in that area.
Okay, so I think I'd take that as a motion that would be appropriate, refer this matter to the appropriate standing committee for discussion of interim measures to address speed on Crystal Lake Drive. Okay, so I'll accept that as a motion. Discussion or debate, Councillor Radburn?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Yeah, I like the idea of referring it to the appropriate committee to look at interim measures or look how we can address the issues that are presented today. I don't think we should be too focused on what we think the solutions are. I'd like it to be sent to administration and the appropriate committee with an open sheet, or blank sheet, so to speak, so they can come up with solutions that we can add to them, discuss what they present, but I think that's the motion is a good one.
Okay, thanks very much. Further discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Gustafson to close.
Yes, thank you. That little thing we have that we put on light posts with the speed on it, I think that really slows people down when they see a big, 51-kilometer thing out there, because your speedometer is kind of, it's not really specific to that. So if there's any way we could throw that up there for a couple days and just slow her down a little bit, would be great. Thank you.
Certainly one of the options. Okay, thanks very much. Will Councillor Gustafson close debate and we'll call for the vote? Thank you, and one more, thank you. And that motion carries. We did have the one other delegation, MLA Drysdale. I'd look for a motion to receive his presentation for information. Councillor Rice?
I move that we receive MLA Drysdale's report for information.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. That would take us out of our delegation business onto notices of motion, of which we had none, and into council member reports. And Councillor Wong, I believe that you had Peace Watershed Planning and Advisory Council.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Given. Today at City Hall, the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance, we met. We had board members from all over Northern Alberta come into Grand Prairie for a board meeting. We were introduced to our new executive director, Rhonda Clark-Gauthier, who seems to be very competent for this position. She has a background in agriculture and she does have some experience as an executive director. We had a lot of work that we're starting to bite into now. We have a finance committee which is looking at reviewing our own internal budget requests. We have a technical committee who is putting out RFPs for several projects. We're looking for reports on drinking water quality of the Peace River, water supply, and health of the aquatic life. So those are going out right away. We're also looking at forming a communications plan, which includes creating a website, some printed material, and a newsletter. And finally, the group is planning a tour of the Peace River watershed area in September. We're going to spend about 2 days just touring the area and looking at water treatment plants and maybe some recreational facilities and things like that in the area, so we know what we're dealing with. Also included with our board meeting today, we had a presentation from Alberta Agriculture and Rural Development, and it was a report on Alberta's meteorological network. It was actually a very cool presentation. We talked about precipitation. Precipitation, obviously, it drives the water flow for the rivers, lakes, and streams in the area. It's really interesting when he talked about all of Alberta. We looked at the past 20 years of weather data, and he did verify for us that the Peace region gets most of its precipitation in the form of snow. It actually gets 30% more precipitation in snow than it does in rain in a year, which is unique for all of Alberta. So when we talk about how expensive our snow removal is, we can be assured that the data actually does support that we get more snow than the rest of the province. The other thing that was interesting to note was there is a huge discrepancy between how different organizations measure precipitation, even if they share the same measurement station. Environment Canada and Alberta Environment and Weather Farm, they'll all report on different numbers because they calculate it differently. Alberta Agriculture and Rural Development, they do provide the raw data for transparency's sake. So anybody who goes to their website is able to get free information. They can get that free snowfall data for our region. There is a major significance to knowing what the amount of precipitation is in 1 year. One of the main reasons that this is important is AFSC, which offers crop insurance, bases their claims on the amount of precipitation for the year. So depending on which source you use, you either get more or less money for that claim. So I thought that was really interesting. At our board meetings, we try to get a presentation from different water experts. So this was the one that was presented today. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and we spent 6 hours here today at City Hall at the North Conference Room. They were very impressed with our City Council chambers, and they thanked us for the use of our facilities.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Councillor O'Toole, I see that you had an update for the Philip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Gibbon. On the 27th of July, I attended the kind of a wind down meeting in regards to the fundraising event that was held earlier. And just to give you a heads up, it was approximately $470,000 raised that night, with a lot of support from the local community. This would not have been able to have been accomplished. We also signed Brian Brake on for another stint. He was thinking that he was going to move on because of well, a bunch of personal issues and stuff, but we've talked him in, since he did such a great job of raising this money and getting the people to attend and getting the people to come to the site. He stayed on. The next big project that we plan on for a major fundraising event, which will be in July of 2013. There's no need of having an event earlier than that because the building isn't being built yet. And at that particular date, we should have a building completed. That's our hopes and our goals. And from the words of Dan Aykroyd and his family, it will be a party of all parties. There will be a number of major celebrities attending, and it will be probably 3 times the size of the one that was held at Crystal Center. Other than that, that's my report.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Were there any further council member reports for agencies, boards, and commissions? Seeing none, then we'll start on council roundtable, and Councillor Crokin, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. On July 27th, I attended the Arbor Day dedication. It was at Rotary House, and then proceeded to lunch at the Quality Inn, where I was very happy and proud to see that one of our own was recognized for her contribution to Arbor Day ongoing, is Josie Burrows. So congratulations to Josie. She was recognized there with an award. Then the next day, the 28th, I attended the Chamber Mixer at Williams Shop Realty, and come away with some prizes there for a manicure, so that was really good. Later on that day, in the evening, Hugh McDonald was in town, and we went to hear his platform, which one of the items was the eliminating the school taxes being collected by municipalities, so that we would have a bigger window on collecting revenue, because that's the only place we can collect revenue. On the 29th, I attended, along with probably most of the council, the groundbreaking of the new Shields Education Health Center. It was a great day for Grande Prairie and area. August the 1st, I attended along with Mayor Gibbon and Councillor Radburn, but he'll talk about that. The celebration of the 25 years of the Muskosipi Park. It was a lot of fanfare, and it was really nice to see Councillor Radburn's dad, Ernie, being recognized for his part in pushing that vision through. And later on that day, I was pushed off of BMX, and the mayor actually was riding the bike. They looked at the scale on it, and they thought it would be far better if he rode the BMX on the opening of the South Creek Ball Diamonds BMX trail. So that was it. Mayor.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Cogan. Councillor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mary Given. Aside from my regular scheduled duties, I, of course, attended the hospital dig there. It was good to see the premier can run equipment and other than a pen and a legislator. I also attended the PC debate at the Evergreen Park. Lots of good candidates there. We're in for anybody that will run for premier, I think, is well-deserved individual. So, and then I attended the Pee Wee Championship, provincial championship here in Grand Prairie. I was able to throw the first pitch alongside of County Councillor Leanne Beaupre, and there were 6 teams from all over Alberta here, and Camrose was able to win it, and they are going on to Manitoba for Western Canadian Finals. So. Good job, the Reds. They put on a great tournament there, and thanks to them for holding that event. And that's all for me, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Gustafson. Councillor Redburn?
Thank you, Mayor Given. July 26th, I attended the Chamber Lunch and Learn, and the topic of the Lunch and Learn was city purchasing practices. And so Bob McNeil was there and did a great job. There was about a dozen or so people, and so I think it was a good start, and it was very informative, and he handled the questions very, very well. I'm not on my committee list, but I did attend the 100th Anniversary Committee and found that most interesting. A lot of good work being done by that committee. July 28th, Regional Tourism Association Destination Marketing Cluster Project. So a number of us were there, and it was good to see that project, starting. July 29th, the groundbreaking naming of the Shields Health and Education Center. I just want to congratulate the Shields family, well deserved, and it was great for Premier Stelmach to recognize the family in the new name. August 1st, as Councillor Cogan had spoken of, I attended the 25th anniversary of Mississippi Park celebrations and the Heritage Day celebrations. I will say that Dad enjoyed the time, the couple hours we were there, very much. He was very proud to be honored. So thank you for the city and the staff, particularly Laurie, Carl, and Ashley for their good work in organizing everything. He even provided us with a golf cart, so we tootled around the park for a bit, and he hadn't seen much of the park for quite a while, so it was, from our family, we're very appreciative. Thank you. And August 3rd, I had a couple of meetings. One was a special Grand Spirit Foundation meeting with the Height Pioneer Home Board, and then a special Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redburn. Councillor O'Toole?
Thank you, Mayor Given. On the 26th of July, I umpired the celebrity slow pitch game between the city firefighters and the CFL players. It was a real eyeful at times, and a lot of good fun, well attended. On the 27th, I attended the Pipestone Creek Philip J. Curry meeting. I mentioned what was discussed earlier. I also attended an open house for the Doug Horner at Mad Hatters. He's a member of the MLA in Alberta here, running for the Premier's office. On the 28th, I also attended the Center 2000 Tourism Destination Marketing Development Project, and watched them uncover or open up a new website that will help tourism in this area. I attended on the 29th a groundbreaking ceremony of course, the Shields Health and Education Center, and I was blessed to have my grandchildren and my daughters attend as well. They knew that it was something very big and they wanted to attend, and I got to admit I'm pretty impressed. I don't think it means a lot to them at this present time, but in 15 or 20 years I'm thinking they're going to be over the ecstatic having their picture taken with a former premier of the province. And on July 30th, I celebrated with my son his 25th birthday and also his graduation from trade school, so there was lots of family there. On August 1st, I spent the day at Muskosipi Park at the Heritage Festival, and I was learning how to dance West African dancing. I quit after a while because I didn't get the hang of it, but there was other people that were really good at it, so. On the 3rd of August, on the 3rd of August, I attended a paleontology evening at the GP Regional College. And to give you an idea on some of the people that have attended this region just because of the bone beds, we have Michael Burns from Tennessee. He's a PhD student, and he's working out of the University of Alberta. And he did a talk on ecoskeleton and vertebrae. Victoria Arbor, she's a PhD student as well. She's from PEI, and she did a discussion on flying reptiles of the Vancouver Island. And I was kind of impressed when she showed a skeletal on the slide presentation of a bird that was as tall as a giraffe. So I'm sure glad they don't fly around here anymore. And the last person to do a discussion was Clive Coy. He is a dinosaur research program technician with the University of Alberta, and his discussion was on a gentleman back in the 1920s, was quite involved in paleontology. He's an American. His name was Roy Chapman Andrews, and basically the discussion was the Mongolian expeditions that he attended and the finding of dinosaur bones and dinosaur eggs and stuff in that area. So that was a very educational evening for myself. On the 22nd, which is 2 weeks from now, there will be another presentation on Ice Age animals. On the 4th of July, 4th of August, I went to the bone beds to watch them lift 2 dinosaur skulls, 1 complete dinosaur skull and 1 top plate. These are significant finds, and like I said, they had to use a helicopter to get them out. And if you look at the local newspaper here in town, the Daily Herald Tribune, there's some pictures in the and articles regarding that in today's paper. And that was my day, my week.
Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. On July 28th, I met with MLA Hugh McDonald for Edmonton Gold Bar. He is running for leader of Alberta Liberal Party, and as Councillor Crokin was saying, he does have one of his policies that proposes the city to be to keep the education tax portion, and then the education would come out of general revenues. They limit MSI, but instead of 10 million we got last year, we would get a 20.6 million per year over 10 years. So it grows 206 million. So I think it would be a positive, sustainable way to go. But anyways, they're all talking about what they could do during this election, and hopefully some things prevail after the next provincial election. As well, I was really looking forward to the opening of the hospital. I could not be there. I attended a funeral in Grand Cache for a fellow named Tom Hill, who was 76. And we are with Grand Alliance of Grand Cache, and he was a big builder of that community of driveways, garages, and everything. And I decided to go into that funeral. As well, coming back, I had the same day, the 29th, I was to attend a tender opening for investment services, and there was a few individuals there, and they got a lot to look at and renewing it every 5 years. And I should have known better because there was sheriffs in that heading to Grand Cache for a death race, and I did have a ticket coming back, and I shouldn't have been speeding. So. And on August 1st to 5th, I took my children to Edmonton. Kendra and Kara without their mom, without the nanny, and it all went well. Did meet Hugh McDonald again, and I did take them to the Alberta legislature because I want them to grow up. I want them to vote, And if you ever go there in the summer, not the winter, it is a beautiful place for wading in the water and the flowers. So that's my it.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Councillor Wong?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I only have one item to report on. On August 3rd, I was at the Engineering Services Building to observe an RFP evaluation. The RFP that I observed was a 2-envelope system, which means that a panel scored the technical component first, and then using the scoring matrix, and then opened the envelope containing the price only after they knew that the technical component was scored at least 70%. So I was also informed that our staff does offer a debrief for firms that are unsuccessful in their submissions, so they can find out where they ended up scoring low. I found it extremely educational and suggested that all council members be briefed on this process because it does offer an extremely fair system, and I believe that council should be informed on what processes happen in the background before the reports come to committee. I also suggested that perhaps our purchasing department could assist the Chamber of Commerce in developing an information session for local business people that want to know how they can get their businesses to submit proposals for public sector work, because not everyone is capable of doing that, and in order to get into it, you do have to meet certain criteria. This could be a follow-up on the city purchasing practices lunch and learn that was done a couple weeks ago.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Councillor Rice?
I attended the cluster marketing presentation from the Tourism Association at Center 2000 as well. Met with Dr. Chris Eagle and Chris Mazurkowicz of Alberta Health Services. I found it a very informative meeting, and certainly seems like they're looking forward to making some substantial changes in the structure of the organization. So.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. I think that would leave just me then. On Wednesday, July 27th, I attended and represented the City of Grand Prairie at a hospital planning meeting, and so this is the planning session that's held by Alberta Infrastructure in the development of the new Shields Health and Education Center. I wasn't able to attend the next day, but I believe we're represented by somebody from administration, so the City of Grand Prairie is taking an active part in that process. They were at the point of deciding sort of which functions were going to go on what floors and what the envelope of the building would look like, and how exactly education would fit into the building or the site, and what the site layout would look like. So from the information that I saw, it looks like they're moving along very rapidly, and I believe that they'll have some information out to the public and for the community to see within a fairly short time frame. So I'm fairly confident that the community is being well represented by all the people in the room. Certainly it isn't just the City of Grand Prairie that's there advocating. We have a number of community members, both from the GPRC side of things, as well as a number of health professionals from all areas of Alberta Health Services, including doctors and everybody from the maintenance level to food services to nursing to every other service that's going to be in the building. So there are a lot of people from our community who are actively engaged in the development of the project, which I appreciate the focus from the provincial government on trying to do that to make sure that all those voices are heard. On Friday, July 29th, I was across the street from the college to participate in the sod turning for the Shields Health and Education Center. I wanted to commend the province for their vision in continuing to ensure that this project eventually does come to fruition, and I also wanted to commend them for their recognition of the Shields family. It was only at the presentation that I really understood the connection that the Shields family had to the healthcare over the long term, and the number of areas that their family had served the Grand Prairie region and their community in education. Obviously, many of us know Tom, but also his brother Jack was an MP, and his mother even was one of the first nurses at one of the first hospitals in Grand Prairie. So they obviously have a long connection to the community, so it's obviously a very fitting name. And then on Monday, August 1st, it was my pleasure to be at Muskogee Park at the amphitheater for the unveiling of the 25th anniversary time capsule. And it was an honor and a pleasure to be able to thank a former council member, Councillor Radburn Sr., for his work on the Muskogee Park Committee. I think it was a reminder for me of the reason why we all do this work that we do, or the reason that I do the work that we do on council, the reason that I'm here. It's to make an impact on the community, and hopefully it's a lasting one that generations can enjoy. And I think Mr. Radburn can certainly say that he did that. He and the rest of his council of the day that were involved in the development of the park certainly left a legacy to the community that has been a benefit for years and will be into the future. And then later on, I was down in the South End to celebrate the opening of the BMX park. Councillor Crokin was there to join me. Sorry to shove you off the bike, but I was the only one that held a helmet. You can't go on the BMX track if you don't have a helmet. Proper safety procedures first. But I thought it was really interesting to note that there was a community member that had helped us with the design of the BMX track, and his family had purchased a construction company. He moved to Grand Prairie and was disappointed to find out that there wasn't a BMX track, because he's actually been on the professional circuit and has traveled as far away as New Zealand doing BMX races. And so he was happy to lend his expertise in the design of the track. And I think it's a great example of how these opportunities sort of present themselves, and when they do, you have to take them. So great to see that we'll have a great track that will be able to host events. It will be designed to the standard that once it has a start gate, it'll be able to host anything from national level events and maybe even some of those international ones. So fantastic news, and great to see, and a great recognition and legacy for the 25th anniversary of the park. If there wasn't anything else for our council meeting, then I will call it adjourned. Thanks very much.